welcome, and thank you very much.
It was the answer heard around the world.
I would.
Then Senator Obama had been thrown an unexpected question from an ordinary American.
This is the CNN YouTube debate.
Would he meet without preconditions with the leaders of Iran, Syria, Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea?
I would. And the reason is this, that the notion that somehow not talking to countries is punishment to them, which has been the guiding diplomatic principle of this administration, is ridiculous. But if we tell...
Thanks very much, everyone. Good night.
Viewed today, the statement might not seem extraordinary, but in 2007, it was practically revolutionary to say that an American president would speak to strongmen like Iran's Ahmadinejad and North Korea's Kim.
Constitute an axis of evil.
Two-thirds of then-President Bush's axis of evil.
Certainly, we're not going to just have our president meet with...
Hillary Clinton poked holes in Obama's argument on stage that night, and the reviews were pretty unanimous. Obama's answer was naive.
Are you kidding me? Those are the last people I'd meet with in my first year. I'd never meet with those guys.
But Obama strategist David Axelrod says that the future president was adamant on a phone call with staff. Obama told them,
"We're not backing off at all." I actually think that was the moment when he found his voice in that campaign, because he realized that he was bringing a point of view that nobody else was going to bring.
That voice continued when he was inaugurated.
We will extend a hand if you are willing to unclench your fist.
Iran in 2009 was a nation with a very tightly clenched fist.
This is a country that had been hostile towards us, and we've been hostile towards for decades.
But after just 2 months in office, Obama decided to try something new on this old enemy.
Today, I want to extend my very best wishes to all who are celebrating Nowruz around the world.
Nowruz is the Persian New Year.
For nearly 3 decades, relations between our nations have been strained. But at this holiday, we are reminded of the common humanity that binds us together.
Veteran Middle East reporter Robin Wright was in Iran when Obama's message was delivered.
It was electrifying, the impact it had on people who believed that for the first time, maybe the Americans were really serious about a dialogue.
Those hopes for a dialogue became fears about a confrontation just 6 months later.
Good morning.
Obama, along with France's Nicolas Sarkozy and the UK's Gordon Brown, made a stunning announcement. Iran had been keeping an explosive secret.
Demonstrating that the Islamic Republic of Iran has been building a covert uranium enrichment facility near Qom for several years.
This was one of those gotcha moments. And it was a worrying sign because it indicated Iran had a much more advanced program.
The crisis had an upside. It brought the world's most powerful nations together. The United States, Germany, the United Kingdom, France, and China and Russia were now all determined to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. There were fits and starts, talks and negotiations, but little progress to show until 2013, an auspicious year, the year the team that would crack the toughest issue in world politics all came together.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It was the year that President Obama was inaugurated for the second time.
Senator Garrett, what are your thoughts at this point?
And John Kerry, a Vietnam War vet and advocate of diplomacy, took office as the new Secretary of State. It was the year that the relatively moderate Hassan Rouhani was elected the 7th president of Iran.
We're all endowed with free will.
And named the American-educated Mohammad Javad Zarif as Kerry's counterpart.
The credentials, the personal history of these 4 men was pivotal in pulling it off. It is doubtful that if any of the 4 had been different, that we really would have gotten to this point.
The importance of that chemistry began to be clear in September 2013. It was the annual meeting of world leaders at the United Nations in New York. Secretary of State John Kerry.
The United States and Iran had not had their secretaries of state or foreign ministers talk in decades.
But that was soon to change.
Now wait there, guys. We'll bring you in. We'll bring you in.
After a multilateral meeting where Kerry and Zarif sat next to each other, the two diplomats went to another room at the UN for what was supposed to be just a meet and greet. It turned into much more.
A little room on the side of the Security Council, no windows, just the two of us in a very small space, I think, taking stock of each other and of the situation.
The planned brief encounter turned into a 30-minute serious conversation.
I have just met with him now on a side meeting.
We stress on the need to continue these discussions to give it the political impetus that it requires.
These were the highest level talks between the United States and Iran in decades. But that record didn't last long.
It was just a 15-minute phone call, but one that was 34 years in the making.
The highest level conversation between the two nations since 1979.
An historic conversation as Obama picked up the phone and called Rouhani. The first dialogue between an American president and an Iranian leader since Jimmy Carter spoke to the last Shah of Iran.
I believe we can reach a comprehensive solution.
Over the almost 2 years of negotiations that followed, there were disbelievers about the deal abroad.
Such a deal does not block Iran's path to the bomb. Such a deal paves Iran's path to the bomb.
At home in the United States,
I just don't understand why we would sign an agreement with a group of people who, in my opinion, have no intention of keeping their word.
And in Iran. Even the negotiators themselves weren't sure that they could get to the finish line.
Are you offering this agreement?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we're hopeful.
Thank you, everybody.
There was one moment when I visited with my counterpart, and I just asked him point blank. I said, are you sure you guys really want to try to get this done? Because I'm not sure that you do, based on where we are.
But in the end, both sides did want to get it done. And on July 14th, 2015, a deal was struck.
This moment has been a long time coming, and we have worked very hard to get here.
That hard work almost didn't pay off. Congress tried to block the deal.
Order, please. Please take your conversation.
In the end, the opposition failed. And in January 2016, the nuclear agreement with Iran went into effect.
What we were able to accomplish has been remarkable. And even our most severe critics cannot argue with the fact that without launching a bomb, without initiating a war, we've been able to remove an enormous threat.
But now it is all in jeopardy.
The nuclear deal is a disaster.
Will Donald Trump rip up the deal? National Security Advisor Susan Rice says that would be a terrible idea.
To scrap it when it's working would put us outside of the bounds of what is an international agreement. So it's a win-win for Iran. Our allies and partners are furious at the United States, and their nuclear program can proceed unabated. It doesn't serve our interests.
Next up, my thoughts on the legacy of Barack Obama.